Ladies and gents, welcome to the Abnormies podcast. My name is Si. Joining me as always is Brandur. What's happening, mate?
All good. All good.
What? How we doing?
Yeah, yeah. I'm floating through life on
Good.
a cloud of joy and contentedness,
Excellent. It's good to
or
hear.
so I
I
tell
was
myself.
just admiring your Nepalese football jersey as well. Looks very
Yeah,
snazzy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We gotta represent. Although I,
yeah,
I, I have yet to see them play, but I feel that it's a sign of support whenever you visit a country to
yeah,
at least pick up one of their football jerseys.
yeah, man. I was going to do that when I was in Norway, but they were too expensive, so I just left it.
Yeah, they do cost a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
they cost an awful lot. Yeah.
so
So, what
let's
have
say
you been up to then in the last couple of weeks?
sorry.
What have you been up to in the last couple of weeks?
Just in my routine, I'm writing my book. I'm up to page 92, and I'm training a lot, and it's going very well. I feel like my biceps are burning, which is a wonderful
It's good.
sensation after having not really felt them at all for the past decade.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
then yeah, and then I'm as usual trying to do some entrepreneurial stuff. How about you?
Yeah, good. I was telling you earlier it was my first ever sober birthday yesterday in about 28 years. So
Yeah,
that was fun. I had
congratulations.
two whole naps in one
Yeah,
day. Um,
sign of maturity.
Brilliant. I got the same gifts I was showing you before.
Show
The
me.
same gifts I would when I was a child. I got He-Man figures
That's awesome.
and I got colouring in pens.
Yeah,
And I got some stickers to
stick
graffiti
out.
on. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the joys of being 42 and not giving a shit what people think anymore. Not that I
oh,
really have in the first place, but
mm,
it's definitely more liberating
true.
to tell people when they ask what do you want for your birthday, instead of saying oh some socks or oh a new lawnmower, I can just go I want He-Man figures and I want coloring pens. Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you seen the new He-Man series by
I
Kevin
still
Smith?
haven't watched it yet. I'm hesitant about watching it. I've heard of a few people that it's good, but
Well,
I
it's
don't know. I
different.
don't like remakes. I'm not a big fan of remakes.
No?
Nah,
Oh,
I watched
I
the 2001 and wasn't for me.
no.
No.
I kind of like it. It's like, when it's done well, it's like they touch on the memories deep enough,
Yeah,
but then kind of rehash it, so it's like watching something new still.
I
But the
heard
new,
it had much more of a nostalgia feel to it, so I might give
yeah,
it a go. I might give it a go, definitely.
yeah, I kind of liked it. I think Kevin Smith knew what he's doing, and
Yeah,
although we'll see, it's still rolling out, so there's time to fuck it up if
yeah,
that's what he's gonna do.
yeah. I
Apart
probably
from
will
it,
give it a go.
yeah. So what we're gonna
Right.
talk about today?
So today, for those new subscribers, because we do have new subscribers,
Hello,
and
people.
I was going to explain how that happened, but I will. But so today, I think we are going to set each other a challenge. We are going to have a catch up, which is what we're doing now, and we are going to do channel updates. And they all begin with C, so I can make a really snazzy tagline for the video and a nice thumbnail with all C's in it. So
See,
that was the idea behind that. Um,
right.
yeah, so I was explaining to you briefly, Branda. There's a kind of YouTube community in England. I don't know how to put my finger on it. There's ex gangsters, reformed gangsters, boxers, people who deal with mental health, and people who are just crackers, like absolutely mental and nuts. And they have YouTube beefs and they do live streams. And I kind of jumped on a couple of these live streams, spouting off my big mouth and trying to be humorous. Some people thought I was funny enough, and I give the channel a shout out. And a few people have hopped on. So welcome all the new people. There will be no beefs on this channel between me and Branda.
Why not?
Well, I suppose we could. We have like South Park, Cripple Wars.
Yeah, I'm
You
game.
could, you could like run at me in your chair and I could like try and whack you with my Zimmer frame. It would
I
be a
don't
big
know.
slapstick adventure. Is my frame's like a big frame that you walk with when you're crippled?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
That's my
cripple
picture.
wars.
Well, I mean, once the channel starts to get boring, we can, start
Spice it up.
attacking each other, and
We could have a big fallout and
how about
do
that?
rival videos on the channel. We could have a fucking battle rap against each other.
Ooh, let's do a battle
Yeah.
rap.
Yeah. I'll try not to drop the N bomb.
No, that's wow.
I'll drop the C bomb.
Bunch of
The cripple bomb. So that's what I kind of people have jumped over. So I think what I'm thinking is for the channel, I was explaining a little bit earlier that the hardest part for me is with doing other projects and doing the podcast as it is now. I'm uploading it to all the different podcast sites and spending ages doing that, and then nobody's even downloading the podcast or listening to it audio. Everything comes through on YouTube. So I think from now on, we should just focus on YouTube and expand the channel to more than just the once a week podcast, where we both release videos of what we're doing. And I also would like to do some lives where people can just jump on and just chat generally about anything. I would like to keep it around good mental health, ideally, and positivity would be nice. Just because I know there is a lot of that genre that I've been watching. There's a lot of negativity goes on in a lot of it, and it might be a nice little sane place for to hang out and have like actual chat about what people are thinking if they're going through any shit in their head. Where they can either jump on the live stream, give them the link, or they can just go in the chat and like go through their questions. And obviously we're not professionals in any capacity to deal with mental health, but I'd like to think we've both been through quite a lot in our lives where we could offer some kind of practical advice.
I find that a lot of my support and guidance came from people who had just gone through some serious shit themselves. And the guidance that you get from professionals, it's very useful, but it tends to be like the same stuff from many different sources. So it's better to get it from somebody who's lived it.
Definitely, because I'm on a couple of support groups for my condition, cervical myelopathy. It's not exactly rare, but it's not exactly common. So there's a few support groups on Facebook, and I've found out the most informative stuff on that. On them groups, people who've had this disease for 20 years or more, and seeing the way it's progressed in certain people, and obviously the medical people try to sugarcoat a lot of things, whereas like normal folk will tell you the shit they've been through, and do you know what I mean? They'll kind of give you what they've lived through and how it's affected them. And I found lots of like even medication tips, which again shouldn't really be given out anecdotally on forums. But when everyone's prescribed the same kind of stuff, it's sometimes good to know like what time of day they take their medication, which ones they've found helpful, which ones haven't. Because for me, I can't take gabapentin. I've taken it and it just doesn't do anything for the pain or the spasms, and it just makes me slur my words even more. Which I've mentioned a few times as one of my biggest bugbears with all the medication is the way that I'm not as quick at bringing out words and things. Like words just don't come to my head the way they used to. Especially when I was doing live stand-up comedy, I was very quick because you had to be quick on stage. But I wouldn't even attempt that now because I mean mine's just like jelly at times. So
you get rolled over by the hagglers.
Aye. Well, I mean, I think I could still fight me own a bit, but I wouldn't be as quick and it wouldn't be as witty. So yeah. So that's what I propose we do with the channel to try and get a little following going.
I'm down. You're the man. I follow your lead. Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Good stuff.
So yeah, we're gonna try to be shining examples of positivity in face of adversity.
Yeah.
There's no C in that.
But we also don't mind a bit of trolling. Whoop, whoop,
Chris,
get in bed.
get him.
Get in bed.
Get him. It's a burglar.
Yeah. Oh, is that the little dog? I bet you that's the little dog as well.
That's the little dog.
Yeah. They make the most noise.
Yeah.
We've got a little sausage dog, and he's so loud.
Yeah.
He's the loudest thing. But as soon as another dog even comes up to him to sniff, he hides away. So
no, my big dog, she's generally barks once and then she goes quiet. And it's her 8-year-old birthday today.
you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, my little doggy.
A doggy birthday.
Yes.
We've got a shop across the road from where I live, which specializes in dog treats.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it sells, doggy treats in different forms. And
a friend of mine asked me if I was going to get my dog a cake. And I'm not going to get her a cake, but I gave her some treats. But they apparently have this store that makes special dog, specially made cakes. And
they do across the road here. They make dog cakes and all sorts of doggy. It's called Doggy Delish, and it's like all kinds of dog related Easter eggs and birthday cakes, and they have a big Christmas selection when it's Christmas, and all sorts of weird shit. But
we digress.
It's been open for years, so people must obviously buy that stuff. So
yeah. No, I haven't gone into that angle yet, but
no, I don't buy into that. No, but
I did have an idea for a product once where I want to create like this paddle thingy where there would be 3 paddles, and start out if you press one of the paddles, a food would shoot out, so a dog could like press the paddle and he gets a reward, and then the idea being that you would train the dog to like gradually get like paddle 1, 2, 3. That would be some kind of command, and then 3, 2, 1 would be another command. And then you could teach the dog how to open a window or open a door or like see how complicated commands the dogs could generate.
That's the scientist in you speaking there, isn't it? That is completely the scientist inside of you.
Yeah, it would have been fun, but then you could train the dog to like, hey, close the door. No, I mean the window.
Oh, that would be that would be good. Yeah, if you could use the dog to your own advantage to serve you. As a human, that would be pretty good.
It would be like an interface for a smart home.
Yeah.
So of course, the thing was it was a mute thing because you can just get a voice controlled interface and say, hey, Echo, da da da. But it's just an idea. But the thing is, like products like that usually have a market because a lot of people who own dogs, they tend to buy anything relating to like cuteness of dogs or some kind of smart training thing. I spent a bunch of money on all kinds of useless junk when she was a puppy.
Yeah, we've got like a teepee for the dog. We've got a set of stairs so it can get to the bed. They do get used all the time. The dog does sleep in our bed. But yeah, just loads of spoiled. It's just spoiled rotten. An absolutely spoiled rotten dog.
Well, half the fun. Spoil your dog.
It is. Cover them up in little blankets and tuck them in at night and give them a kiss. And, it's like a little baby that never grows up. So So for the new subscribers, let's briefly, in case people haven't went back and watched the earlier videos, which I insist you do, go back and watch them all. But briefly, this is Brandur. He's Icelandic and he's a cripple. I am Si, I'm English and I'm half a cripple. And we are doing a podcast together about being cripples. And I know that word's frowned upon, but we've reclaimed it and we're using it as like just to take that word back. So it has no power anymore. So and we're both artists, and that's how we met, doing digital art in the crypto scene. And now we do a podcast together. And it's going to get more organized as the weeks and months go on. It'll get more and more organized. And that's about it for a recap, I think.
Yep.
So
that's all we've done.
done channel updates. I've explained about the whole gangster YouTuber beef that I've that I've been watching and joining on. We were going to set each other some challenges, weren't we?
Yes.
Did you have any thoughts about that?
Well, yes, I want you to start moving your arms more.
Yeah.
And I think though, like a lot of what you want to do has to come from you, because initially it needs to be fun. So like you need to do like a routine where you move your body so that you get a little bit tired, get your heart
Yeah.
rate up a little bit, and it doesn't really matter initially what you're doing, just as long as you're not damaging yourself. And yeah, as I say, I do think it's really important that it's fun. So like find some kind of exercise or movement that you can do like once every day, once every other day,
Mhm.
and then we'll start building from there.
Yeah.
So, so like one could you just be reaching your hand straight up into the air,
Mhm. You
for
know what I need to start doing? I need to start taking the dog out more often. I tend to rely on my wife and the kids doing that because I've got my walking stick. But
yeah,
I think maybe I should start doing that more often.
yeah,
And I could also maybe incorporate that in the channel by once a week doing a little walking vlog with the dog.
yeah. You can
And
get. Have you seen one of those harnesses you put on the dog, and then you can put a GoPro on the back of it?
yeah, yeah. I might have to. I've got a little I've got it ages ago, and I've never used it. It's like the DJI Pro,
Yeah,
like a 4K thing. I never even took it out of the packet. Basically, I bought a computer and they didn't send it for ages, months and months. They lost me receipt, so they ended up sending me a voucher. And by that time, I'd already replaced the computer, and I had nothing to. So I was like, "What do I need? Oh, I'll get a camera." And I've never used it, and it was purposely for vlogging. This was before I was fully like disabled. But yeah, I'll have to get that out and start shooting in 4K with the dog and try and do once a week a walk with Vinny and
yeah.
make that a weekly upload as a nice bit of content.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind walking around some of the old streets where I grew up.
yeah.
Showing people that my hood, my ghetto.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we can share ghetto stories. I like my background is the environment was quite privileged in many ways, but
yeah,
we little Viking kids, we didn't get a lot of supervision,
yeah,
so it turned into like a Lord of the Flies type situation where like kids were really really cruel and abusive towards
uh,
each other. And so a lot of like 60% of the boys in my year ended up going to rehab at some point.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, so it's yeah, gangster stories. So we don't,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah. It was pretty similar here. Like obviously the early '90s is when I was out and about when I was like 10-year old and that, and yeah, it wasn't the same as it is now. The kids would just do what they wanted and go anywhere we wanted, and we didn't really live in a rural area. It was more like industrial. So yeah, loads of old places where I used to hang out and smoke weed and take mushrooms and that. I'll have to go to visit some of my old haunts. Definitely. So I wanted to set a challenge for you. I think
bring it.
right. You can just move your hands, can't you? You can lift your hands off the if you've got them like perched on a chair. You can lift your hands.
Yeah,
You can move your fingers.
no,
No, right.
no.
That is what I wanted for you to focus on. Is just getting some kind of digit movement.
Okay,
It's independent, like just or some kind of digit movement.
okay. I'm down now. I like I can clench my fist, but I can't really open it easily. I can
Yeah,
do some tricks. It's odd. I can move everything. I just can't control it. So it's
yeah,
so I'm down. I'll make some videos of me trying to move my fingers,
yeah,
and,
definitely.
uh, and then you have to top them or something like
Right,
that. Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, because wouldn't it be great if it could look in like a year's time and you could like just even touch like hello or something on an iPad or a phone.
Throw you the finger right here,
Yeah,
live.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would love. Oh, I think I would cry if you
Yeah,
threw me the like flipped me the bird. I think I would
virtual reality.
cry with like happiness. But I think I would. I'm a big softie. I think that would make us emotional. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, well,
that is like a maybe a year or two goal for you to flip me the bird. Yes, yes.
all right. Yeah, well, yeah, all right, sure. So, good to have
I'm
something to motivate me with.
yeah, yeah. Telling side to fuck off with your finger. Yeah, I'm down.
All right,
I'm 100% down for that, man. Yeah,
all right, okay. So yeah, we'll get all emotional and
yeah,
yeah, sounds good. Okay,
definitely.
yeah, we'll think about with you. I think because I have no idea what you can do, and like I don't want to be giving you a lot of pain. I mean, I'm interested in your back,
So
how we can work on that.
so I can, as I've said, it's I can get around with a stick. Um, and I can't. I couldn't exactly walk far, but I can walk few minutes with a stick when I'm okay. It's just sometimes if my back goes into spasm and I'm bedbound, which touch wood hasn't happened since before Christmas now, where I've been completely unable to move. But if I overdo it too much, then my back does go, and my leg and arm starts shaking. So
Uh,
I can I go to the football, but I'm kind of like dropped off at the door and then picked up and taken home. But yeah, I got cocky once and I left my stick at home, and I regretted it the next day because I couldn't move. That was when the
have you tried?
steroids was that was when
Have
the
you tried?
steroids was starting to wear off.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Have you tried crutches?
I just use one stick. I find it easier. It's like a tripod stick.
Yeah. Well, just think about like if it's imbalancing you, if you're always kind of supporting yourself to
I
one
kind of
side.
I kind of use it now for what's the word? See, I can't bring friggin' words to my head for like the peace of mind and the balance. Do you know what I mean? So I don't like rest all my weight on it. It's not like I walk with a limp. It's more so I'm starting to learn how to walk like quite fluently with it now. Like I've been watching old men how they have this really fast flick when they walk, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get figure that out. So I've been walking with it, but it's mainly so if I start to feel myself go, I rest on the stick, and it's like it's sturdy. It's a big fat bastard stick, you know, so
Yeah.
it can hold my weight. That's why it's got the 4 tripod feet on the end of it. So yeah, the crutches, it just it wouldn't. I don't think that would be of any benefit in that way.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah,
Okay. That was one other thing I was thinking if people would be interested, like both seeing us train and bulk up, of course. I mean, who
yeah,
wouldn't love to see that? But also, like, I got a lot of, technology gadgets and shit whose utility varies a lot, but some of them, like the Aerofit breathing trainer that I use,
yeah,
it really had an impact on what I've been doing, and the electrodes. As I said, that was another thing I want to throw to you. Like,
yeah,
get yourself one of those electrodes and start using them in a systematic way. You kind of do shoulders one day and chest another day, and
yeah,
you'll feel it. 'Cause I get really tired after I use it, but
yeah. That's one part that really does ache on me because I used to have a big, like a fatty, gristly build up on the back of my neck. And when they cut me open, they kind of cut all of that out. So there's loads, like a huge patch of muscle and tissue that's not there anymore. It kind of goes in. It's like you can almost touch the spine. So my shoulders ache. For example, at the Newcastle match 2 days ago, we were given each person was given a flag on their seat to hold up. One was black, one was white, to spell out our football club. and I was holding it up for maybe about 30 seconds, and then my arms both started shaking, and I had to like kind of put my arms down. So that was the first time I'd kind of done anything where I'd lifted my arms up for that prolonged amount of time. And I thought, yeah, that's something I can work on. I can definitely work on that even while sitting down. I can build up that upper arm strength of keeping my arms up.
Okay.
Because obviously, we mentioned last night I've been using the power ball, but that's kind of for forearms, which are fine. They got a lot of practice, but it's for it's the upper bit that I need to build up some density here.
Yeah. Well, you can also like use rubber bands. If it's too hard for you to lift up your hands, you can use
Yeah,
rubber bands, put them around the handle, and then put them in the roof above you,
yeah,
so that it makes it a little easier. So that way you can do more repetitions. So
mm,
that one thing that I'm doing now, I'm strapping my arms to the lift that we use to kind of move me from the chair to the bed, and.
yeah. I saw the photos you sent. Yeah,
Yeah. So
um,
and then I realized I could like I can move my hands enough to kind of get the lift swinging back and forth and back and forth, and it's kind of enjoyable. So
yeah.
I've been doing that, and I can really feel a difference in my shoulders and my chest and my biceps, and so now I'm gonna keep doing that every day now, and
Can you
shrink
can
down.
you not do can you do a vlog on that? Like, if your assistant filmed, could you do a vlog for the channel on that?
Yeah, yeah. You have to tell me how to make it interesting. My challenge is friend of mine has been telling me to like show people like just how I get in and out of a car. But of
Yeah,
course,
any
it's
of that.
become
I mean, because you were diagnosed as being paralyzed, and that was your lot, and now you're not completely paralyzed. So I think that in itself is interesting enough for people to watch any amount of videos of you doing anything really, like when it comes to physical movements, isn't it? It's
maybe.
pretty incredible that you were
Yeah,
one fully paralyzed and now you've improved. Like, that's not many people. I don't know the numbers, but I can't imagine many people do.
no, I understand why it's fucking hard. Like
Yeah,
coming back from so much atrophy is like it's like nothing I've ever experienced before. But I've been lucky. I've had people around me, and I had Raul. I've talked about him in
yeah,
the past, and thinking about what he's done. One of the main things is just coming in and like just saying you can do it.
mm,
And like the moment that I start like, "Oh, but it's so difficult and it's so painful," he just yeah, whatever, you can do it.
yeah,
Just he instills that faith in myself, that. But it has to be me. He helps me, he guides me, but and he yells at me when we were training together. But then when he's not here, it's down to me to kind of like maintain the discipline and keep doing
yeah,
it. So I feel like the big gift that he gave me was just like letting me believe like that I can do it. And it took a long time before I think I really started believing it.
yeah.
So if I can pass that along to one person, then that would be awesome. It would be awesome.
Of
I would
course.
love to do that. So anybody who wants to talk about this kind of stuff, I'm very happy to, and like sharing with my life, I don't mind it. It's just to me, it's all become so mundane.
Mm,
It's like for somebody like I'm gonna share with you how I go to the toilet. It's
yeah.
like who wants to see that? But then again, if it's
Lots of people would, and of course there would be lots of people. Not obviously seeing the end product, but seeing how you move yourself up and get yourself about. Yeah,
yeah, sure, sure,
yeah. I
right,
think it would inspire lots of people.
okay,
Um, I also think it would inspire people who are just generally a little bit down,
yeah,
thinking like, "Fucking hell, look at this guy! Look what he was given this death sentence, if for want of a better term, and he's kind of went, nah, fuck that, and he's turned his life around and on the way to, fingers crossed, full physical fitness again."
yeah. Well, I've so since this happened to me and I've gone through my thing, I've met a lot of people who have like gotten their own different types of death sentences, and
Yeah.
and I've started to see like certain patterns in it. That might also be something interesting to talk about and explore with other people, how they've dealt with like this. Here's what's wrong with you. Your that little itch, that little twitch, that little weakness that you've been experiencing, those chronic headaches. It's actually blah blah blah. And then shit, I have this kind of disease. And
Yeah.
we talked about this with what's his name again, our wonderful
Paul.
football friend, Paul, yeah.
Paul, yeah.
And about how you kind of get that initial shock, and
Yeah.
then you have to just kind of accept it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
tricky part.
quick, before we go on, boys, on this subject, Paul, because I watch his channel all the time, at the Toon Review, go check him out. He's been getting lots of trolls lately, just jealous people who have been trying to spread rumors about him and stuff he does with his other girls, which is absolute nonsense. And his wife knows that because they're together all the time. And he's come off Twitter because he's been getting trolling. One of his co-hosts, Danielle, she got hounded for saying some kind of opinion on Newcastle United, and they're getting like death threats and all this kind of shit. So I want to say, from the two gangsters here at the Abnormies, fuck you, the trolls. Leave them alone, or you'll have me and fucking Brandur will fucking cripple war the lot of yous. We'll fucking roll you over in Brandur's fucking pimped out wheelchair, and I'll get me fucking big Yorkin stick and I'll absolutely lace you with it. So so just me show of solidarity to Paul, who we've had on the channel, one of our first guests. So stay positive and stay strong, Paul. Fuck the trolls.
Or we'll kill everybody else.
Or fucking hunt them down for you, mate.
No, we're pacifists.
Nah, so it's bad shit, man. Just
that sucks. He's such a sweet
dude.
I
know. He's lovely guy. But yeah, so keep your chin up, son. We've got your back. Me and Brandur. Yeah, man. Sorry. So what we've seen, about other people's death sentences for a word about how they've overcame things. Yeah.
Well, it's just how to get over that initial shock, and I think it's always going to take time, but at some point the part of it is you just gotta kind of accept that you're gonna die, and and then once you accept that, then you can stop focusing on that, and you can start focusing on the fact that you're not dead yet, and you have time left, and
the quality of life.
And then you just and you focus on these little steps that you can take. So how can I make tomorrow a little bit better, and then next week and next month, what can I do today to kind of improve it? And I think it was out of this kind of thinking that it emerged for me, instead of like I'm gonna spend all day like doing stuff that just makes me feel good, like watching the computer or smoking weed or whatever it was. And instead I'm gonna go and do something that makes me feel horrible, like go to the gym. Those first couple of times it was so hard and so painful, but after a little while it started getting easier, and then of course at some point you start getting the benefits, the endorphins that come from a really good workout, and you feel the pain in your muscles, and suddenly it becomes an addiction. Like now I look forward to next exercise where I go on the floor, and like if my biceps aren't burning, I'm not doing enough. That took a while kind of to be honest.
I remember I've mentioned this before, but when the Euros were on last year, it was actually when England were in the final. That was I was in a wheelchair and I had a piss bag attached, and the physios had pretty much said, "Well, you're in a wheelchair. You'll probably remain in the wheelchair." And I remember being in the wheelchair and I thought, "Fuck that! I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for it." So that was when I started taking the medication and doing certain things, and I got myself out of it. And I don't want to go back into it, not yet. So
Nothing.
Oh, you're having a secret chat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. That's all right.
Yeah.
So that was the thing for me. I didn't want to go back to a wheelchair. I refused to accept that I was going to be in a wheelchair. So that was when I got the big Zimmer frame thing. It's like a huge thing, and then I moved on from there to the stick, and that's where I remain to this day. So yeah.
I think it's challenging when you're on that process. You're getting weaker. You're needing to rely more and more on assistive technologies.
Yeah.
Like that. This moment, like I had that with a wheelchair. I like, no, I'm never sitting in a wheelchair because I was afraid that if I'd sit in it, I'd never get up again. And to be honest, that kind of was the case in some degrees. You kind of you adjust, and then you come to rely on it, and then you avoid the challenge that comes with, like, because it was really hard that period where I was weak enough that I really needed a wheelchair, but I didn't refuse it. So but then eventually you learn that balance of using the equipment as needed, but then challenging yourself as much as you can outside of it. So I think this variable, the system really comes into play here. So if you live in a country that has a good system, meaning that so you are sick, here's a bunch of doctors, psychologists, physiotherapists, they're all here to kind of guide you through the process, alleviate as much of the difficulty relating to it as possible, and then you have that headspace to kind of deal with the personal, the physical, the mental aspects of it. But then if you have to deal with financial issues and all of that stuff on top of everything, then it becomes really, really, really difficult, much more, to kind of have that headspace to kind of like, today I'm going to work out like a monster.
Yeah. That's one thing that's been difficult lately. It's the crypto market fell. I had to withdraw a lot of money at the very bottom around the end of the year. So that's definitely been one thing that's been a struggle. But fingers crossed, things are starting to pick up a little bit now. So
yeah. Well, once the war ends, and I hope it ends soon.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. But let's not get into that, because again we were talking about that off air before we came on, and it's just the whole geopolitical side. It's I know it's too complex for me to go into, because I understand certain elements, but then there's elements I don't understand. I guess the only I know it's a tired old trope, but I just hope there's as least cost to human life as possible, because that's the only thing that I know fundamentally I disagree with, is people being killed. Any sentient being killed, I fundamentally disagree with. So that would be the only sentiment I could give really on that. So. But on a positive note, again, moving on. We'll move on to the catch-up segment. I mentioned last week that I was doing the NFT project, the Graph Giraffe Gang crossover with the Fly Frogs, and we moved from an auction format to a buy it now format, and I think we've sold maybe, out of the 25, maybe like 9 or 10, so coming up to the halfway mark. And 50% of that money goes to supporting disabled artists, and 50% of that money goes to planting trees for tree frogs. So that kind of went really well. And also the main project that I had that's been ongoing for years is the children's mental health book series that I wrote and illustrated with former heavyweight boxer Frank Bruno. It looks like we may have a launch date in May for International Mental Health Awareness Week. Wow. that seems to be when we're going to launch.
Okay.
I'm going to go down to Frank Bruno's gym and the Frank Bruno Foundation, and hopefully there's going to be press there, and fingers crossed TV coverage and whatnot, because as I've mentioned before, all the books are completely free to access for any child, English speaking as of yet. That will increase the more funding we can raise. They will be translated into hopefully every language. But for the launch, it will be every English speaking child can access these books. A gentle introduction to children's mental health. And I am going to start fundraising again because I underestimated how much it was going to cost to create this website and to have all the animated books downloadable and readable online. So I'm going to start doing some more fundraising for that. So I'm going to try and get on a few other YouTube channels and do that.
Okay.
But the long-term goal is to have them all translated into every language, and I would like to also have them animated, fully animated and narrated, like by some. Over here, right, we've got a channel called CBeebies, which is a children's channel.
I've heard of
And
it.
they have the bedtime hour where they read a bedtime story, and it's filmed and all nice. And are you familiar with Tom Hardy, the actor?
Okay.
Do you know Tom Hardy? He was
Yeah. He played
Bane.
not Spider-Man, but the other one, right?
Bane.
Bean.
Bane.
Are you saying Bean?
Bane. B-A-N-E. Bane. Bane. Bane.
Bane. Yeah, Bane. I was thinking.
I said Bean.
Bean.
That's why.
Bane.
Bane.
No, that's Ron Atkinson.
Brandur, he played Brain.
Brain.
Bane. Aye. Well, anyway, he's like a sex symbol over here for all the ladies and gentlemen of that persuasion. Yeah, as of me, yeah. And he basically he narrates from time to time the bedtime hour where the camera's on him and he reads the children's book.
Does he do it in tough guy mode?
He just does it in like sexy Tom Hardy.
Little big gaming,
and the numbers go through the roof. The ratings, because all the ladies and gentlemen of that persuasion all watch to see Tom Hardy read them a bedtime story. So my goal is to get in touch with Tom Hardy and see if he will narrate these 3 Frank Bruno books that I've done on children's mental health, and have them on the website for kids who might not be who might be reluctant readers, so that there's so that this information can get out to all children. And again, I want it all to be for free, 100% free. And I want to have links on the website to all the official places where people can go for mental health support, whether that be children or adults, and where parents can go if they've got maybe concerns about their children showing signs of mental health issues, like a little hub for kind of an access point, and resources for schools and things like that. So that's what I've got coming up, hopefully between now and May. So
cool. Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm taking the missus to see Russell Brand in April. I am going to try and get in touch with Russell Brand and see if he'll do a podcast while he's in Newcastle. I'm going to try my very best, because he was on our hit list of guests we wanted on from day one. He was on our list, so I'm going to try and get in touch as much as possible. I'm going to pester and see if he'll do a podcast.
He's one of the few people I don't watch on double speed when I watch his podcast. He speaks very rapidly.
He does. He's very eloquent as well, and a very caring man, and he's been through a lot, and I think you'd be a fantastic guest.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah.
So make it happen.
That's the plan. So what's your plans coming up over the next period?
I applied for a grant for a project where we are taking products that are being created by indigenous people, or not indigenous, like tribal people in Nepal, and we're going to help create new sales avenues for their products, and then we're going to take any extra revenue that's generated from that and try to support like social entrepreneurs in Nepal. So I don't believe in really like us coming there and trying to create like all kinds of solutions. There's already a lot of people doing that. So we'd rather try to create like sales avenues for products,
Yeah,
and then any support that we can give, we find somebody who's already doing something cool, and then we try to support them. Yeah,
cool.
I think it's like it's not a lot of work. We're going to pay some people to go and kind of make sure that everything is on the level, because one of the things about Nepal is that it is such an industry around extracting charity aid money.
Yeah,
If a huge amount of money comes into the country, then a very small percentage of it goes to the stated goal. A lot of it just goes to corrupt government officials and stuff like that.
I was just about to say, it's got a kind of corrupt government. Same in a lot
Yes.
of countries in that region. They've got with the whole charity aspect.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very complicated to make sure it gets to the intended source.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I was in Nepal for a while, so I could talk about this a lot, but it's like
Mm.
because the political politicians, they get a rather low salary relative in Nepal. So it's just taken as normal that they get augment their salary from, some other places. Like I was told that a lot of them get paid from the Indian embassy. So
Right.
India kind of, Nepal to some degree, although it has always remained independent, it's been a little bit like a satellite state to India, I was
Yeah.
told. So yeah, so it's it's in a certain hole that's really hard for it to kind of dig out of.
So, what's
Uh,
their biggest export?
well, their income comes from tourism and farming primarily,
Yeah.
but export, I'm not sure what their export is. People probably.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of the Nepali population has been going abroad to work in other countries. When I was traveling in nearby countries, I did meet a lot of Nepali people, and so I suppose that they're like the Polish people are in Europe.
Yeah.
They hold up a lot of the work economies of like Iceland. They'll work the jobs that Icelanders don't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
So in Nepal, they do a lot of the service jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they do have lots of beautiful products that are made, like hand carved stuff, because labor is rather cheap. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's it.
model.
So you've got to try and make sure that the funds are going to where they're needed.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Well, that leads me on to something that I was reading before we came to record tonight. I can't remember. It was an article. I can't remember where the article was, but it was basically a piece about how you can directly help Ukrainians without worrying where the money goes. And what this young girl had done, I'm sure it was a young girl, she had contacted on social media uh, some Ukrainian Airbnb companies,
I've been
and
hearing about that a lot
yeah,
here as well.
and said, we're not coming to stay, but we know that money is going to go straight into the pockets of people actually in Kharkiv and Kiev and Mariupol, and so that is. I know people, as is always the case, the population are more caring than governments. That always tends to be the case. If people want to help out, that seems like an ideal route to like pay for Airbnbs in all those stated places. But also, I was then thinking maybe you could go on like Etsy and look for like individual artists in Kiev, Kharkiv, Mariupol, and maybe buy some of their work, but obviously state, I don't want you to don't worry about sending out the work, so that you know that that's going to support individuals. That was just a thought that maybe, do you know what I mean? Because I imagine artists have been hard hit, and we're not exactly a part of the mainstream population that has a lot of savings. Historically, artists tend to work from job to job, so
Yeah,
that was a little thought that maybe that might help people out
yes,
there. So
yeah. I wonder if there are pages that kind of tally all those kinds of ideas together.
Yeah,
and then list out some of the pros and cons, I suppose. And you know,
yeah,
oh, it's so sad. Stop war. What the fuck?
I know.
Like,
Just because Putin's got a micro dick, it's just
oh, it just feels like I keep thinking, all right, it's like we are evolved. It's the 21st century. Like war. What the fuck? I mean,
yeah.
guns and shit. Just I don't get it.
It's baffling, isn't it? It's baffling that how I haven't all came together as a species and used all that money in reserves and tried to do something for the greater good of the species. But then I suppose it's not all black and white. Then you've got religion and you've got all sorts of things that would interfere. And but
Yes, of
it would be
course.
nice if everyone would be like on the same page,
I,
and
I
there would
mean,
be
it is.
absolutely no need for poverty with the resources that are out there. There would be zero need for anyone to live in poverty.
No, no. It's an interesting topic, of course. Like,
Yeah.
what do we need as a society to motivate us to do better?
Mm.
Does there need to be, jails? Do we need prisons? Because I think prisons don't really help reform prisoners. Not in most countries. I mean, that's what they're trying to do in Norway and some more enlightened societies, if I can use that description. But
But
most
what about sex offenders? They surely need to be kept.
yeah, but they shouldn't be in like prisons. They should be in psych wards where
Yeah.
they get electric shocks that make them stop being dirty
Would,
motherfuckers. But
would that work? Then you get the territory of would that work, or is that kind of
I don't
something that
know.
in them? Do you know what I mean? It gets
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I think it's like it's definitely better to approach it as a disease that
yeah.
needs to be taken care of. Because I mean, all right, so should they go to prison? Yes.
Hmm.
But how long? I mean, do we put them indefinitely to prison? So then, okay, they're not going permanently to prison, meaning that they're there for a year, 5, 10 even, and
Yeah.
eventually they're going to come out. And are they cured or are they going to repeat their offenses? What happened to them while they were in prison? They met other prisoners who were also into the same, disease.
Mm.
So they learn from each other, maybe how to do get into other
Yeah.
communities or something. So it's really like a friend of mine. He called prison like a prison. It's like a crime training camp.
Yeah. I've heard that many times. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
I think
you have to kind of. It's not enough just to say.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's like for like sex offenders and especially child sex offenders. To me, it's like I know everyone deserves compassion, right? But they are like the furthest down on my list of where I like have any kind of sympathy or
Yeah.
empathy for. In some ways, like, I know if I had that affliction, I would off myself. Uh, and in some ways, if they are just locked up or put away or castrated, I see that as collateral damage and for the greater good. And now I sound like some kind of fucking dictator from the 40s. But I don't know. There's certain, I know therapists, I've spoken to my wife about it. She's done research on it, and therapists who've worked with that kind of affliction. And I couldn't possibly begin to like thinking
No,
about that. It just
no,
too sensitive for me to think about that kind of stuff. Like,
I'd rather not touch that topic either. But
you
I
know,
think
but
I think
there
if you
definitely is people out there who should who can deal with that kind of thing, and hopefully
well,
cure if it's possible. But
it needs to be solution oriented. It's like
yeah,
we
definitely.
can't keep running a society where we keep pushing problems to the side and just ignoring them. We need to kind of tackle them in a way that actually solves them. However, we do that. I
Yeah,
mean, I think the tendency for some sex offenders is that they were themselves, abused
it is. Yeah, yeah,
children, and it turns into like a cyclical thing. So how do we break that cycle? I mean, it's I don't know. We have a bad history with that in Iceland, which is kind of really depressing to think about. But it has. it has improved
Yeah.
a lot, and that's mostly been through open conversation, like
Yeah.
the ability to talk openly about these things. And
See, it seems to be more prevalent, I've noticed, over the last 20 years. But again, is that because the internet and social media are more prevalent and people can actually voice their opinions and things that have happened? It must be to do with the fact that people are able to have like discourse now, whereas say 20 years ago you didn't really have these open
yeah,
forums and platforms. You know what I
well,
mean?
I have one example pre-internet, which is kind of cool. So one day, the women of Iceland got sick of the way society was run and their like unequal rights. So they started the Women's Party, and they did a lot of all kinds of good stuff. And so this was a documentary about them recently that I watched. One of the things that they started was like a hotline where people could call and report sexual abuse or incest or something like that.
Mm.
And at the time it was like an acknowledged problem that people ignored. The political system kind of ignored it,
Yeah.
but everybody kind of knew that there was a problem, but nobody knew the scale of it. This hotline did not stop ringing. It just, the phone did not stop ringing. So they had to man the phone in shifts, and it would ring all through the night, all
Yeah.
through the day. So this led to the Women's Party coming to Parliament eventually with hard data, just showing like, we opened this hotline and this is the result. And of course, once they showed up with that, the rest of the political, different parties could no longer ignore it. So something had to be done.
Yeah.
So that's an example of like, pre-internet but it was about conversation. So of course now you just start a group on one of the social media groups, and the conversation is started and decisions are made and political pressure is generated, and then a lot of things get solved that way. But then of course you get so much noise that important topics start to get suffocated by bullshit
Yeah.
or too much noise. So I don't know. I like to think that our social systems are all continuously evolving,
Yeah.
and sometimes we don't go down the wrong path, but hopefully we learn from it, and then our next iteration of a social system gets slightly better and better, and of course we have to acknowledge the fact that we're dealing with a world which is like there's never been so many people alive as there are
Yeah.
today, and the data is mostly good, or it was at least.
Yeah.
Is that more and more young girls are being educated, and more people are rising out of poverty, and so there's good stuff like that, which means all these people are able to participate in the global society
Yeah.
more and more. Of course, being like Icelandic is really trippy traveling around, because we have like the 10th or 11th best passport in the world,
Yeah.
meaning that we don't require visas to enter different countries. So you feel welcome everywhere, and then of course you meet wonderful people in different countries, like
Mm.
Nepal. They're like, "Hey, come to Iceland and visit me," and they're like, you know, okay, maybe if I get lucky, and I've tried to bring like 3 of my friends in, and
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's really hard to get them. So you see how there is imbalances everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, just fell into a political conversation there. Wow.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's good. Well, it was kind of uplifting until the very end. So on that uplifting note, I think that's where we'll call it for today's episode. But I'm glad now that we've got a plan going forward. That we're going to
Summarize
focus
our plan again.
we're going to focus on YouTube,
YouTube.
because nobody was downloading the podcast and it was taking up so much of my time doing
Yeah.
that.
All right.
So
I like
focus
YouTube.
completely on YouTube. We have to upload, apart from this weekly meetup that we have to each upload at least one video a week to start with.
Yeah. How long?
Any duration, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Could be
Okay.
could be 30 seconds, 5 minutes, could be half an hour, doesn't matter. We just
All right.
want content out there. Obviously, if you tell me if you want, you can send it to me and I can upload it and add a thumbnail and put all that stuff in.
It's a good. We'll do that to start with, but I'll
Yeah.
learn how to do it. I'm an independent man.
Cool, no worries.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll do that. So you do some training videos, and I'll do some walking videos, and have the dog out, and then we'll get the channel pumping, and then we'll take the throne from PewDiePie of being the biggest YouTube channel in the world.
Who's PewDiePie?
Exactly. On that note, Brandur, it's been a pleasure as always, bro.
Yeah.
And guys, all the new ones watching, if you've enjoyed it, please smash up that like button so that other people can see our little faces and listen to our stories. Subscribe if you haven't already. That's super important. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a penny. Hit subscribe. And if you could share this with anyone you think may be interested, or even people you think wouldn't be interested and we may annoy them, share it anyway. Get the word out, and we'll be back again very, very soon for another episode of The Abnormies. Cheers, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.